Around 10:30 p.m. on August 7, 2025, Ralph "Chicken" Herrera stood outside Exotic World on Westchester Avenue in the Soundview section of the Bronx when a man wearing a hood walked straight toward him, closed the gap without hesitation, then fired one shot into his head before disappearing down the block. Although surveillance cameras recorded nearly everything, while officers recovered a shell casing within minutes, that footage only deepened the mystery, especially after people realized Herrera had appeared in another video less than 24 hours earlier that had already spread across countless phones. The real story was never only about the shooting, so the bigger question became how two cameras, operating one day apart, completely changed one man's name forever. Once officers secured the sidewalk outside Exotic World, investigators quickly realized they had more video than certainty, even though the recording clearly captured the gunman approaching before fleeing along Westchester Avenue after the shooting. Detectives later described the suspect as wearing a black t-shirt with multicolored lettering, black pants, black and red sneakers, plus a hooded sweatshirt pulled tightly around his face, which explained why identifying him proved far more difficult despite multiple surveillance angles. That challenge only grew after investigators reviewed additional footage showing the same person moving nearby without the hood covering his face, prompting the New York Police Department to release still photographs while asking the public for help identifying him. Even with those images circulating across New York, the investigation refused to settle into a simple homicide case because another figure standing close to Herrera before the shooting quietly drew attention. People watching the surveillance recording repeatedly focused on subtle movements made only moments before the gunman arrived, although detectives never announced that those actions proved any organized plan or criminal involvement. While investigators continued collecting evidence from the crime scene, social media had already started writing its own version of events, turning every frame into another clue while discussions raced far ahead of confirmed facts. That online conversation kept growing after people connected the shooting to another recording filmed roughly one day earlier, although police never publicly confirmed any retaliation motive linking both incidents together. Instead, thousands of viewers stitched together separate moments before detectives revealed much publicly, causing speculation to spread through Bronx rap circles, neighborhood pages, repost accounts, plus street conversations across Soundview. That rush to explain everything almost immediately echoed other New York tragedies involving cameras, including Lissandro Jr., Guzman Feliz, and later Ethan Reyes, better known as Noti Osama, where public opinion formed long before complete investigative records became available. Yet none of those comparisons explained who Ralph Herrera really was, which means the only way forward is stepping back several years before those cameras ever pointed in his direction. Long before Westchester Avenue became his final crime scene, Ralph Herrera had already spent years moving through the same few Soundview blocks where nearly everyone called him Chicken. That nickname followed him before the music, before the online attention, and before reporters started using Chicken Don Dada or Chicken Don Dada after his death. Around the neighborhood, he was less like a distant performer and more like somebody residents regularly saw near Morrison Avenue, local storefronts, and the elevated number 6 train. His life stayed rooted in that small Bronx radius, which later made the shooting hit differently among people who recognized his face without knowing every detail about him. One of his regular locations was Exotic World, the Westchester Avenue storefront where friends and neighbors said he worked behind the counter, restocked merchandise, and dealt with familiar customers. Employees later described the business carefully as a gift shop while declining to confirm his employment. Yet nearby residents consistently remembered him spending long hours inside. The place worked as more than a job site, since Chicken could get his hair braided there, listen to music, talk with friends, or watch people pass through. That routine explains why he was standing outside the same store around 10:30 p.m. on August 7, 2025, when the masked shooter approached him. While the daytime version of Ralph Herrera remained tied to the neighborhood shop, another version kept pushing toward a rap career under names built around his longtime nickname. He recorded as Chicken Don Dada and Chicken Don Dada, leaving behind material that included a music video for the song Stolies. His audience never reached the national size of major Bronx drill artists, though his work showed that music was more than occasional entertainment around the block. The neighborhood memories surrounding Herrera became complicated once police sources shared another side of his life, including a criminal history stretching across 27 previous arrests. At least one of those arrests involved illegal firearm possession, placing him inside a public record that looked much harder than the calm image friends presented afterward. Those details quickly entered news coverage, which meant viewers encountered two different versions of Chicken before investigators had even established the motive. One version was a familiar store worker and aspiring rapper, while the other was a repeat arrestee already known to law enforcement. Neither account completely erased the other, especially when residents described somebody who had been present around the same storefront for years without regularly creating obvious trouble. Several people interviewed near Exotic World said Chicken usually appeared relaxed, listened to music, spoke with customers, and rarely displayed serious conflict around him. Their comments did not claim complete knowledge of his private life, which made their memories more limited, but also more grounded in daily observation. They knew the man visible across the counter or standing outside, not necessarily every arrest, rivalry, or problem developing beyond their view. His friends added another layer by describing him as a devoted father raising 4 children, a detail that changed the scale of what happened after the shooting. One friend called him a good man and father, while another remembered him as somebody who looked after people within the surrounding community. Stories circulated about him buying ice cream for children or helping people nearby, creating an image that sat uneasily beside the 27 arrests. That tension matters, since street figures are often reduced into one clean category after death, even when their lives contain several conflicting records. For residents who entered the Exotic World for drinks, ice, small purchases, or conversation, Herrera had become part of the physical rhythm surrounding Westchester Avenue. His presence was familiar enough that the empty space outside the shop felt noticeable almost immediately after police removed the crime scene tape. Candles soon covered the sidewalk, while friends gathered beside photographs and melted wax to exchange memories about the man behind the nickname. Meanwhile, detectives still had only a shell casing, surveillance images, clothing descriptions, and a shooter moving through the same streets Chicken knew intimately. That gap between community memory and police history gave the case extra fuel online, where strangers started sorting Herrera into hero, aggressor, hustler, victim, or target. Yet the real picture remained messier, since the available facts showed a father, local worker, aspiring musician, repeat arrestee, and recognizable Soundview figure existing together. Those contradictions did not solve his killing, though they helped explain why reactions became so divided once the earlier confrontation video surfaced. By then, Chicken's personal story was colliding with a larger Bronx rap environment where music, reputation, humiliation, and criminal investigations had become tightly connected. Herrera never reached the fame of K-Flock, yet his music developed inside the same borough where prosecutors increasingly treated rap visibility as part of street power. K Flock, whose real name is Kevin Perez, rose from Bronx drill into national attention before federal prosecutors built a racketeering case involving attempted murder and gang activity. In 2025, Perez was convicted on federal counts before receiving a 30-year sentence, while prosecutors highlighted social media posts, private messages, and a violent reputation. His case showed how quickly songs, neighborhood alliances, internet behavior, and criminal evidence could be folded into one official narrative. Brooklyn rapper Chef G faced a similar collision from another borough, with prosecutors accusing him of supporting gang violence through money earned from music. Chef G, whose real name is Michael Williams, later pleaded guilty to attempted murder and conspiracy charges tied to that larger prosecution. His case reinforced an atmosphere where rap success no longer sat separately from allegations involving shootings, retaliation, or organized neighborhood conflicts. For smaller artists like Herrera, that environment shaped how outsiders interpreted almost every confrontation, even without evidence connecting him to those larger cases. The pressure also reached concert stages when Rolling Loud removed Sha E.K., Ron Suno, and 22 G's from its 2022 New York lineup at the NYPD's request. That move suggested city authorities viewed certain drill artists as potential public safety concerns rather than entertainers whose disputes ended when the music stopped. Mayor Eric Adams entered the same debate after criticizing drill content, then meeting with rappers, following backlash over whether the city was targeting expression. Those arguments never produced one settled answer, yet they revealed how seriously New York institutions had started treating music, social media, and street violence as overlapping forces. Meanwhile, the internet kept accelerating everything those institutions were trying to understand, especially whenever disrespect appeared on camera and reached thousands of viewers within hours. The death of Ethan Reyes, known as Naughty Osama, showed how quickly a young rapper's killing could become dances, taunts, memes, and recycled content. Lisandro Jr. Guzman Feliz had already shown another side of that machine after surveillance footage captured his fatal 2018 attack outside a Bronx bodega. In both cases, video shaped public memory before courtrooms, official findings, or complete context had time to catch up. Chicken Herrera occupied a smaller lane, though his location, rap ambitions, arrest history, and neighborhood standing placed him inside that same culture of instant interpretation. A public confrontation involving another rapper could therefore become more than an argument once phones captured it, repost pages circulated it, and viewers picked sides. Baby I Threat represented another changing part of Bronx drill, where women were pushing into a scene long dominated by male artists, rivalries, and aggressive performance. When her dispute with Chicken turned physical, the footage did not remain a private Bronx incident, since the blow immediately became public humiliation with an audience. That moment would soon replace Stolies, the Nipsey Hussle meeting, Exotic World, and nearly every earlier detail people knew about Ralph Herrera. Within hours, thousands saw him less as a father, store worker, or neighborhood rapper, and more as the man who knocked a Baby Threat unconscious on camera. The clip moved quickly through Bronx hip-hop pages, with viewers arguing over what started the confrontation and whether his actions could ever be justified. Before anyone established those answers, another camera was already waiting on Westchester Avenue, where Chicken's name would become attached to something far more permanent. By the summer of 2025, Baby I Threat was part of a growing wave of women pushing deeper into Bronx drill, where reputation could rise through music, confrontation, or whatever reached the internet first. Her name was still developing beyond local circles, yet the altercation with Ralph "Chicken" Herrera placed her before a much larger audience almost overnight. The footage showed an argument turning physical before Herrera threw a punch that knocked her unconscious, leaving the entire dispute frozen inside a short clip. What started the confrontation has never been clearly established through police statements, court records, or reliable public reporting, so every explanation came from people interpreting fragments. That uncertainty did little to slow the spread, since viewers immediately began choosing sides before anyone could confirm what happened before the camera started recording. Some people argued Herrera had defended himself during a chaotic dispute, while others saw a grown man striking a smaller woman with force severe enough to drop her instantly. The video carried more weight than his music ever had, since countless viewers who had never heard Stolies suddenly knew Chicken through one violent moment. Repost pages clipped away context, comments piled up, and the names Baby Threat and Chicken Don Dada started traveling together across Bronx hip-hop conversations. That association changed the meaning of both figures, with Baby Threat becoming the woman who was knocked out publicly, while Herrera became the man who delivered the punch. Once that label attached itself to him, nearly every later discussion treated the clip as the opening move in whatever followed. During the next several hours, the footage moved through social media with the speed normally reserved for major rap disputes, despite neither artist holding national fame. People reposted the knockout, debated Herrera's actions, tagged friends, and attached their own explanations to an argument they had not personally witnessed. Around Soundview, where Chicken was already familiar with Westchester Avenue and Morrison Avenue, the conversation carried a different weight since residents knew the man inside the video. His 27 prior arrests, including a firearm case, gave some viewers a reason to imagine deeper street conflicts, although nothing public established that history as part of the altercation. Meanwhile, his friends still recognized the father of four who worked around Exotic World, recorded music, and had once traveled west with his studio connection. That collision between local memory and online judgment created a powerful rumor lane before detectives ever had a homicide to investigate. One theory claimed Herrera had embarrassed the wrong person publicly, which supposedly placed him under immediate pressure inside a rap culture where disrespect rarely stayed private. Another possibility suggested the viral clip merely exposed somebody who already had unresolved problems unrelated to Baby Threat, while a third claimed the timing was simply too sharp to ignore. None of those explanations became an official finding, and the New York Police Department never publicly confirmed that the punch motivated his killing. Even so, the internet had already built a revenge narrative, mainly from the fact that Herrera was shot roughly one day after the footage appeared. By August 7th, Herrera had returned to the same routine that placed him near Exotic World almost every day, which likely made the area feel ordinary rather than dangerous. The storefront beneath the elevated number 6 line remained a neighborhood stop where customers bought small items, friends gathered, and Chicken spent time near the entrance. Nothing public suggests he entered hiding, changed locations, or expected an attack that night, although the viral video was already changing how strangers viewed him. That normal pattern brought him back outside the shop around 10:30 p.m., placing him in the exact spot where another recording would soon replace the first. This time, the footage would not show an argument developing, since the approaching gunman appeared focused on only one action. Herrera stood outside Exotic World on Westchester Avenue, near Morrison Avenue when a hooded figure moved toward him with enough control to close the distance before opening fire. The attacker wore a black t-shirt with multicolored lettering, black pants, black and red sneakers, plus a sweatshirt tightened around his face. Once the gunman reached the close range, he fired a single shot into the left side of Herrera's head, then ran down Westchester Avenue before officers could arrive. Responding police found one shell casing on the pavement, while emergency medical workers rushed the critically wounded rapper toward Jacoby Medical Center. Doctors could not save him, and the 33-year-old father of four was pronounced dead after the attack. The violence lasted only seconds, yet surveillance cameras around the store captured enough detail to become central to both the investigation and the next wave of speculation. Detectives seized footage from Exotic World, reviewed the shooter's movements, and later released still images while asking the public to identify the person shown. Investigators believe the same suspect appeared nearby afterward, without the hood pulled tightly around his face, although his clothing remained the clearest identifying feature at that time. Viewers soon stopped focusing only on the gunman, since another person standing close to Herrera before the shooting began was attracting attention online. The figure appeared to touch his face or wipe his nose, then moved away shortly before the attacker entered the frame and fired. Commenters treated that sequence as a possible signal, although police never announced that the gesture proved involvement, coordination, or knowledge of the coming attack. Still, the timing looked suspicious enough to keep the theory alive, especially among viewers already convinced the baby threat incident had triggered retaliation. By then, 2 recordings had defined Chicken's final 24 hours, yet neither explained who arranged the shooting, who pulled the trigger, or whether the first video had anything to do with the second. For months, Ralph Chicken Herrera's killing remained trapped between surveillance footage, neighborhood theories, plus an unidentified shooter whose face appeared only briefly on camera. The internet kept replaying the clip, returning repeatedly to the man standing beside Herrera before the shooting, while many viewers argued that a face-touching gesture looked like a signal moments before the gunman arrived. Detectives never publicly confirmed that interpretation. During the early investigation, no conspiracy was announced and no arrests supported the growing set-up narrative circulating across social media. That uncertainty lasted until May 28, 2026, when federal prosecutors unsealed an indictment that completely changed how the public understood the case. Instead of describing the shooting as another unsolved Bronx homicide, prosecutors alleged it formed part of a much larger racketeering investigation centered on the Mac Ballers, a violent gang accused of drug trafficking, robbery, and organized retaliation against perceived disrespect. Federal authorities arrested 3 people that morning, naming Jared Dawkins, Caden West, also known as K Backends, and Milan Wright, better known publicly as Baby Y Threat. According to the indictment, West, Wright, and other gang members allegedly fought with Herrera outside a Bronx store on August 5, 2025, then discussed killing him during the days that followed in retaliation for that confrontation. Prosecutors further alleged that on August 7th, Dawkins approached Herrera wearing a mask and dark clothing before shooting him at point-blank range on the sidewalk outside Exotic World, transforming a local mystery into a federal racketeering prosecution. The charges reached far beyond one murder allegation, with Dawkins, West, and Wright each facing racketeering conspiracy counts, while West and Wright also faced conspiracy to commit murder in aid of racketeering, and West additionally faced murder in aid of racketeering, plus a firearms charge. Those allegations remain accusations rather than proven facts, and every defendant is presumed innocent unless proven guilty in court. Yet the indictment offered the first official explanation tying Herrera's death to alleged gang retaliation rather than internet speculation alone. That development also reframed the earlier viral fight involving baby wife threat, placing it inside a broader narrative prosecutors claimed involved gang loyalty, retaliation, and organized violence instead of a random street dispute. Looking back, the first viral video introduced many viewers to Ralph Herrera through one violent confrontation, while the second recording captured the moment his life ended on Westchester Avenue. Between those two clips sat months of unanswered questions, neighborhood rumors, surveillance analysis, and public debate before federal investigators announced arrests that dramatically changed the direction of the case. Yet, even after those arrests, the story continued beyond social media theories, shifting into a courtroom where prosecutors would have to prove every allegation, leaving the final judgment to the legal process rather than the internet.